Good morning. This is the second edition of HBM's Crypto-Corner, and it is Tuesday, January 13th, 2015. We have several news items for you today, and we have a new sponsor, Sasquatch Coffee, and you'll be seeing an advertisement for that about halfway through this vodcast. So, let's get to the news items of the day. Okay, first of all, and all the links will be below in the description, by the way, so those who want to peruse the links I'm going to talk about, I'll give you the opportunity to do so. Anyway, conscientious young man River Gibbs out of Kentucky, 16 years old and wise beyond his years, wrote an excellent booklet last year called Path to Protocol, how Bigfooters can do better research and things like that. And I highly recommend that particular booklet, by the way. You can get it from him at rivergibbs.webs.com. I think they also have it on Amazon. But River has come up, he's done several videos about different Bigfoot research tips. And one of the latest videos he's done is about audio equipment and what sort of audio equipment can be used in the field. And whether you're on a budget or you have a lot of money to spend on equipment, River is there to break things down for you. Now, one thing that he talks about is how much of a pain in the rear end it is to take field notes. Well, River has a solution. If you have a smartphone, you can actually use your smartphone to dictate into the smartphone your field notes. Number one, if you don't feel like writing, or if you're out after dark or whatever, and you come across something and you want to document it, that's one way you can do it. And then you just listen back and you take the field notes later in the privacy of your own home. Now, one thing that also that River believes in using, although it's an older form of recording technology, is one of these. These are these little RCA digital recorders. You can pick this up at Walmart. You can pick it up at Radio Shack. Whatever. These cost like $40, and you can hold up to 70 hours of material, of audio material on this. These are also good for dictating into, by the way, also. So if you don't have a smartphone, you can always dictate into one of these. And he talks about these are good for leaving out in the field somewhere overnight or whatever. Although if it's going to be inclement weather, you might want to cover it up. Might want to put it in something like a plastic bag or whatever. Make sure it doesn't get wet, doesn't get rained on, doesn't get snowed on or whatever. And also he talks about how some people like to use parabolic microphones out in the field to try and listen and hear, further off in the distance. Although he says that you really don't need a parabolic microphone. You can just do this. Cup your hands behind your ears and just stand there and listen. He says you can do that almost like a radar, I guess. But yeah, really great video. River is a very conscientious young man. He does great things. He is doing great work, and that link is going to be below in the description. The second link is from a good friend to this program, Shelley Covington, Montana, who wrote a very, very fascinating article, a very good article called 2015, The Year of Pro-Proof. And when Shelley says pro-proof, she talks about her DNA kit, which she does not really call a Bigfoot DNA kit. She calls it a wildlife DNA kit. And I've heard Shelley interviewed, and she has said that she's talked about the items that she puts in her DNA kit. But she says that you can make your own DNA kit. You can put whatever items that you feel are necessary to put in it. Whether it's tweezers, whether it's let's say rubbing alcohol, perhaps. There's other items that you can put in a DNA kit. Make sure everything is sterilized as much as humanly possible. Which I know that's not always possible out in the field. But she has all kinds of stuff. She has paper, not plastic bags, but paper envelopes that she uses to collect evidence. Because plastic does not tend to breathe like paper will. So it's always a good idea to use paper envelopes instead of using plastic bags. And there's also something about plastic bags, something about the oils in them that tend to deteriorate certain types of evidence. So it's not recommended to use plastic bags if you're out collecting evidence. But Shelley is very much pro-proof. She believes that a lot of the pieces of evidence that have come out, they're interesting, but they are inconclusive. That will even include something like the Patterson-Gimlin film. Even it is inconclusive. What is needed is a body, or a piece of a body. And Shelley doesn't really make this known publicly, but she is very much pro-proof, and that means, yes, bring a body in. Which I really don't blame her for. But, and she's not taking pot shots at those who think Bigfoot is everywhere. She's not taking pot shots at those people, but she thinks that, those who believe that, she just kind of says thank you and puts them in the interesting pile. But she certainly does not agree with everything they say or do. So, but it's a very interesting article, and I highly recommend reading it. And we'll be right back after a word from this sponsor. I love a good cup of coffee in the morning. And I love Sasquatch coffee, which is exactly what I've got in my mug right now. I got the tree knot flavor. Chocolatey, but the chocolate flavor does not overpower. Got a free sample, 2 ounces, make you about 4 cups of good coffee. Oh, what was it? Kyle MacLachlan said on Twin Peaks, damn good cup of coffee. Well, that would definitely qualify as far as tree knot coffee is concerned. But there's other flavors if you want to peruse those as well. Not just tree knot. There's other flavors of this terrific coffee. That's the Sasquatch coffee, and the website is www.squatchcoffee.com. I highly recommend it. And we are back. The CryptoCast took place last night, and they had as their guest British explorer and cryptozoologist Adam Davis, who has written a very, very fascinating book, which I've read the first chapter of so far, and that's Man Beasts, a personal investigation by Adam Davis. I really enjoyed this book so far, and I've not had a chance to listen to the podcast just yet, but I will at my earliest opportunity. I'm sure it's great. I think Adam is a great interview subject. I've heard him interviewed several times. He's been on Monster Quest. He's been on Finding Bigfoot. He's been on several shows. And the guy, he's pretty brilliant. And he's investigated the O-ring pen deck. He's investigated the the Chinese Yeren. He's investigated the Sasquatch. He's investigated the Yeti. He's investigated the Mongolian death worm. So he's kind of a jack of all trades as far as looking into various cryptid creatures. So I highly recommend seeking out that interview. It's really, I'm sure it's fascinating. And finally, in our on our vodcast this week, today in Bigfoot history, 1960, Bob Titmus teaches Jerry Crew how to cast a track. Now, this did not actually happen in 1960, but it was reported on this day in 1960. It actually happened in 1958, where Jerry Crew, finding these footprints out at Bluff Creek, near Bluff Creek, in northern Humboldt County, California. Apparently what he did was he traced these large tracks on paper and then took it to Bob Titmus. Bob taught him how to make a plaster cast. But it wasn't reported on until 1960 by the Houston Post, which means back then news did travel kind of slow. I mean, today, if this had happened, we would have known about it right away. With smartphones and cell phone cameras and things like that, wouldn't have taken very long for us to figure out, oh yeah, this happened today. But back then, I guess news did travel a little bit slower than it does now. But we're indebted to Jerry Crew because, as Tom Yamarone's song says, he knew what to do. So that's our HBM's Crypto Corner for this week. And I want to thank our sponsor, Sasquatch Coffee. And we'll be back next week. And until then, y'all be good at it.